How did going to an HBCU help you in your movie career?
It gave me a different perspective than a lot of my peers. Number one, it taught me who I'm making my movies for.
Okay.
When I made my first movie, Chocolate City, it was starring other kids that went to school with it. It was nobody in that movie. We barely, knew what we were doing. We were trying to keep the shots in focus, Shannon, right?
You shot it on camcorder?
We shot it on super 16 millimeter film. I see you get a little Savannah State shade in there, brother. I didn't have a camcorder, okay? I had some film, all right? Y'all see him over here in Club Shay Shay. I knew when I was at the line trying to get in here, Club Shay Shay was gonna take some shots at me. So I had this movie that we shot, and nobody in Hollywood could give a damn about Chocolate City. Right? But guess what? We had our world premiere. We were in Lee Hall, which is our auditorium on campus. We had a formal premiere. We made everybody go out and rent tux. You know these students. They barely got money. Go to Casino and Son, rent you a tux. You know what I'm saying? Rent you a ball gown, because we taking this very seriously.
Right.
Now, I invited everybody, all the big dogs in Hollywood. Right? I invited everybody. If you had a studio, the chairman of Fox, Universal, Paramount, so I invited all of them, okay? My mama was like, did you invite Oprah? I said, Mom, Oprah not coming. She said, you invite all them other people. Invite Oprah. I said, okay, Mom, I'm invite Oprah. On the day of the premiere, I'm standing on stage getting ready to introduce my movie, and the whole front row is empty because I had saved seats for all these Hollywood people.
Right.
Now, none of them RSVP'd, mind you.
Right.
No, not one person had the decency to even say, I'm not coming.
I'm not going to be able to make
They didn't let me know they got the invite, right? That front row was empty because Shannon Sharpe, what if a whole fleet of private jets had showed up at Tallahassee Regional Airport the day of my premiere? I had to be ready for them.
Right.
I had saved a seat for Oprah with a +1. She could have brought Stedman or Gail.
Right.
It didn't matter, right? Whole front row is empty. But guess what? Every other seat in that auditorium was packed.
Wow.
And that's when I learned I'm not making my movies for the front row. I'm making them for everybody else. That's what I learned at an HBCU. And I have been making movies for an audience and then expanding beyond that audience ever since.
Wow. Did it leave you a little like, damn, couldn't nobody show up? They couldn't send like a gopher. They couldn't send an assistant.
Yeah.
They couldn't send anybody.
A little bit, because I thought, we had gone through all this trouble and worked hard and made this movie like, Hollywood's gotta care, right? No, they don't. You know what made Hollywood care? After we made that movie and we sold T-shirts, hats, soundtracks, we convinced the second run theater that was showing movies for like $1.50 after they would leave the main theaters. That was a thing back in the day.
Yeah.
We convinced them to show our movie over and over again. And for the kids in Tallahassee at FAMU, it was a big deal.
Right.
And they would go see the movie every weekend, right? We ended up taking that. We had borrowed about 20 grand to make that movie. We ended up making about $100,000.
Wow.
As broke college students.
Right.
That's when I realized, this is my Ivy League training.
Right.
This is my MBA level education and entrepreneurship right here. And I also realized that there's power in understanding your niche and who you're making your movies for.
Okay.
That's what I learned at an HBCU. I learned that I need to know my audience, make my movies for a specific audience, and by the way, make money without Hollywood. That's the only reason Hollywood started returning my calls, because I was making money without them. They'll leave you out there on your own if you're not doing nothing and making no noise.
Right.
But if you want to get Hollywood's attention, you go out there and you make money without them.
Right.
Then my phone started ringing.
How did someone from an HBCU with no connections to Hollywood,
none,
no inner workings,
right,
like all of a sudden they started taking you serious? It was that you made movies that made money without their help. And it's like, well, hell, she making money. Let me get a little
Let me get some of that. Absolutely. Hollywood is good for that. But now, let me just make it clear. It wasn't just that we started making money. We were willing to do and out-hustle other people.
Right.
So even after that movie, Chocolate City, that movie Trois that I made, right? We literally drove from city to city to city. We rented a Ford Excursion. We printed up a bunch of flyers. We would drive to a city, hand out flyers and say, our movie is premiering this weekend in your theater in your town. We would go, I would hand out flyers at churches. I would hand out flyers at strip clubs. I would go to the radio station and say, hey, can I just get on for 30 seconds after you come out of your next commercial break, just tell people about my movie? We hustled. We drove that Ford Excursion from Birmingham to Charlotte to Memphis, to Jacksonville, Tennessee, to Columbus, Georgia. Drove it all the way up to Chicago. I know every city I went to, 19 markets, because I drove to every single one, got a little room at a Motel 6, Super 8, wherever we could afford to stay in, and we drove city to city to city, and ultimately, we were able to make $1 million in the theaters with that movie.
Wow.
We were willing to do what others weren't. Now, today, you got YouTube, you can push a button, you can put it out there.
Yeah.
You got to work harder. You got to figure out another way, because a lot of people can get views. But back then, we had to go to every single city. So that's how we really got put on the map.
You know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and become an official member of Club Shay Shay, where we do something before two something.